October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm sure you're seeing pink ribbons all over the place. But is that really a good thing? I'm Professor Einstein. I'm a former TV and advertising executive turned marketing critic. I wrote a book several years ago called Compassion Inc., and it was all about cause marketing and corporate social responsibility. I came to the idea for that book because I was home, I was watching Oprah, and Oprah was sitting on the couch talking to Bono. And Bono was talking about the red campaign. You know, the parentheses with the red in the middle. He talked about how selling products would be a way to raise money for charities. And I thought, gosh, that sounds like a great idea. Well, you know me, if you've watched me at all here, I decided to dig into it, and in fact found out it wasn't as great idea as he would lead you to suggest. And if you did buy a t-shirt, a little bit of money went, but there wasn't a lot of money that was raised through that as a methodology for raising money for charity. I'm sure you won't be surprised to know that that strategy is more beneficial to the corporation than it is to the charity. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that. But one of the big reasons is that when this cause marketing idea moved out of corporate communications or PR and moved into the marketing department, so that campaigns were created around raising money for the charities, but it was tied to the product, it was considered an advertising expense and it became a write-off for the company. As charities went begging for money, they had to change what their strategy was, what their mission was, in order to be able to marry up to a corporation so that they wouldn't run out of the money, right? So what happens with pink ribbons and breast cancer overall is, this is a really interesting case. It's what I call a hyper charity. And what has happened is that whatever charity is really good at promoting itself becomes the one that gets the most money. Whether or not it needs more money than anything else, it's the one that gets more money. So that's one of the things that's happened with breast cancer. The other thing is that that pink ribbon is not trademarked. So just because you're buying something with a pink ribbon on the package doesn't mean there's money going anywhere. It may have nothing to do with it. And the company will say, oh, we're increasing awareness, as if we didn't know breast cancer existed. One of the more insidious aspects of these campaigns is they announce how much money they're going to give to charity, but they don't tell you when they've reached that amount through sales. So they may hit it after 2 weeks, but they don't change their marketing, and you think you're buying a pink bracelet because the money's going to breast cancer, and nothing is. The way that these are structured is to say they'll give a percentage of the profits, but it's often almost impossible to back engineer what those profits actually are. I had a wonderful conversation about all of this with Dr. Abdul El Said on his podcast, America Dissected. On that podcast, he looks at health issues, but from a broad social perspective. This conversation went from everything in terms of, is cause marketing a good thing, to is creating awareness useful, to Ronald Reagan and billionaires deciding where charitable money should go. I'll just show you a little bit of a clip from the end. Go check out the rest of the podcast wherever you listen to them. But let's dial this back a little bit and talk about where this started and why we're sort of in the situation we are, because it happened under Ronald Reagan when he cut the social safety net, when he cut corporate taxes to a point where they were almost nothing. And so all of this social safety net that existed, from welfare, money for healthcare and for research, all existed in the 80s, and that all disappeared under him. And the expectation was that corporations would then somehow spend the money within the context of their everyday jobs and put money into, charities, into homelessness, into healthcare, maybe not research specifically, but for all of these sort of social issues. And none of it happened. And the level of spending that came from the corporations versus what existed in terms of corporate taxes was about 15%. It was minuscule. And when we talk about this in terms of, billionaires and the 1% and them making decisions about where this money should go, it is utterly ridiculous, because they don't look at the fact that they're part of the cause of some of these problems to begin with. So someone like Mark Zuckerberg will say he's donating $150 million to homelessness in California and never looks himself in the mirror and says, I was the one who caused part of the problem that these people are all homeless because the housing prices increased so much in the valley.
Yeah. No, you're speaking my language.